So now at Battalion Chief is obviously when that leads to 2001.
Right.
And now again, this is coming out around September, hopefully within a day or two of the 11th. 24 years later, obviously this is kind of something that we always say, like the tagline would be never forget, right? And that's, you live and breathe that every day through what you do with Tunnels to Towers, all the motivational speaking, the podcast appearances, the interviews, etc. So I know it's something that you kind of live and breathe 365, for 24 years now. Does it get harder or easier to talk about the stories and the memories? Is it something that, obviously you're comfortable doing it because you do it all the time, but does it change over the years of how you look back on the memories?
Well, I think it definitely gets easier to speak about it because as time goes on, like we mentioned before, it does get a little easier. You never can forget what happened to us and the people we lost that day. And it brings back, after I'm done speaking, I get emotional. I get goosebumps. I still get goosebumps telling Stephen's story, speaking about what the first responders did that day. Rightfully so, because what they did was amazing. And just like on D-Day, what those soldiers did for us, not only for America, but for the whole world, storming the beaches of Normandy, what they did. So, these are inspiring moments in our lives. So I always say I have a lot of bad memories of 9/11, but I have some good memories of 9/11 too. Yeah. So it's, is it easier? It might be easier sometimes, and other times it's not. So it's hard to pin it down and just say it's easier.
Of course, it's the ups and downs kind of life, and having the luxury of speaking to you before, hearing some of those stories. I was listening back to one of our conversations from a few years ago, and I got one of the chill moments when you were telling the story, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute here. So I wanted to kind of go through that day for you, right? Because some of the stories you told to me and to other interviews, etc., span days. Because I think that's something that people do forget. Obviously, they don't forget the overall cause and impact and etc. But some people forget that it wasn't just one day. Right. It was multiple days and weeks and months, exactly, of work and saving people and getting bad news. And it was all that stuff. So what was it like from the first moment of your kind of engagement with it all, then throughout the next couple of days, at least we'll start there?
Well, yeah, the first I heard on the radio, plane into the World Trade Center, everybody said the same thing, right? It's a small 4-seater Cessna, whatever. Guy, couldn't understand how he could do it. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, right? Not a cloud in the sky, and then the second plane came, and then we all figured out we were under attack. So I raced back to my firehouse in Brooklyn, Red Hook section of Brooklyn, and got all my gear. And at that time, I believe the first tower, probably I got in about 9:30, quarter to 10. The first tower came down at 9:59. So they were telling us not to go into Manhattan, to report to a staging area in Brooklyn, to stage there, and then if they needed us, they would send us into Manhattan. And we're getting dressed into our fire department uniforms, and a couple other firemen were there, and they said, "Chief, we're not going to the staging area, are we?" I said, "No," because we knew all my 8 units responded. And we couldn't talk to any of them, so we said, "No, we're going into Manhattan." So we got into somebody's pickup truck, and we took the truck over the Brooklyn Bridge into Lower Manhattan, and we started working, on a pile, or we got in right after the second tower came down, actually. So, when the buildings collapsed, 110-story office building, they created a pile about 6 to 7 stories high. And now we have 2 piles because we had 2 buildings collapsed, over 16 acres of land. So just imagine what you're witnessing.
Right.
It was eerily quiet. One of the bad memories I had was hearing the firefighters' pass alarm go off. It's called pass alarm, personal alert safety system. Every air tank that we wear has this incorporated in it. And when the firefighter is motionless, not moving for 30 seconds, it goes off like a smoke alarm goes off. And we could hear those pass alarms going off underneath the steel and concrete, but we couldn't get to those firemen. So that was, a sad memory, of not being able to help those guys that were buried under tons and tons of steel and concrete.
Right.
But outside of that, there was nobody screaming, nobody crying. It was almost like there's not dirty snow coming down because of all the soot and ash that was coming down and everything that was incinerated. And we just climbed to the top of the pile and started digging and looking for survivors.
And now, speaking of talking about this for 20-something years, and you doing this kind of all year round, and this is a story that I would say is famous to you now. I've heard it from you personally, I've heard it on interviews, but it's something that is incredibly special. And we talked earlier about how you can learn from tragedy and how you can grow from really difficult moments like this. So the story, I think you probably know which one I'm leading towards here, is you now on top of the pile. Yep. And you see what you see. And I don't want to steal your thunder. So if you don't mind sharing that one more time with everybody, I think it's a special testament to one of the positives that came from such a tragedy.
So I tell this story almost everywhere I go and I say it's the goodness of America. And what we don't realize, listen, we have a lot of faults. We don't do everything 100%, but we do a lot of good in this country. We are the most generous people in the world. We help so many people. So when I tell this story, I tell the audience that this is an example, just one example of the goodness of America. And like you were saying before, I was on the top of the pile. And the fire department, this is probably, can't remember the time, I didn't have a cell phone at the time, right? My wife had one.
Didn't, right? A lot
my
of
wife had
didn't.
one. I think maybe my oldest son had one at the time, but I didn't have one. The battalion car has one, so probably about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, the fire department just said, we're going to have to work 24 hours a day on duty and then 24 hours a day off duty. So that means like half the fire department's working one day and the other half is off. So they figured out that I had to be in Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. So this is Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, about 1 o'clock at night. 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock Wednesday morning. So I knew how to get some sleep, and I was on a pile for 14 hours, obviously getting relief here and there. So I looked down at the base of the pile, and I was going to walk down and get some sleep if I could. And marching, I should say, in formation is a group of about 6 to 8 firemen. And they're in formation marching up to my location. And I said to myself, these are not New York City firemen, because we don't do anything in formation. We'll get the job done, but we don't look the greatest doing it. And these guys marched up and they gave me a big salute. They said, Chief, we're here to help you. What can we do for you? And I just got the goosebumps now. The feeling that overcame me at the time of seeing these guys and coming up and saluting me and saying, what can we do and how can we help? I hugged the guy, I might have kissed him, I don't even know. And I said, where you from and how'd you get here? Because I knew they grounded all the planes that day. And they said, small town in Tennessee. They saw the towers get hit. They jumped into their cars and drove up to help their brothers in our time of need in New York City. And I tell people all the time, this is the goodness of America. This is what we stand for. This is what we do. Just like those first responders running and responding to the towers that morning and up those stairs and seeing the people coming down and what went through their heads, when going up to floor after floor and helping. And that's what these guys did. And that's what I saw the 9 months I was on a pile, because it was, like I said before, 6, 7 stories high. We had to dig that down. We got it down to ground level, but then we had to dig out the basements, 8-story basements. It took us another 4 months to dig them out. So I saw a lot of good things.
Yeah.
A lot of terrible things.
Well, of course, yeah.